What's good, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope all of you are having a wonderful day. Yeah, today's episode was not that bad. We finally have an end to this Manlander storyline. Thank God. Before I get into this episode, actually, I want to bring up something. So I got contacted earlier by a podcast on Twitter. A podcast hit me up on Twitter. It's called the Soapy Madams Podcast. It's a brand new podcast. And they basically cover everything from British soap operas to the U.S. soap operas, to American soaps. And they hit me up, they contacted me because they liked what I had to say about the whole Jason thing, and I'm very grateful for that. They actually want to use a clip of my review video for that onto their podcast next week. And I just want to say shout out to the Soapy Madams podcast for showing some interest in me and my channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. If you want to listen to their podcast, you can at soapymadams.podbean.com. So if you want to check out their podcast, it's soapymadams.podbean.com. So check them out. They actually have a pretty good podcast. I listened to episode 7 recently. Um, it's a pretty dope podcast. I actually, love what they have to say, and I love their input, especially when they compare the British soap operas to American soap operas. I dig that because I watch, like Coronation Street. I love Coronation Street. That's a British soap opera. Who, if you never watched Coronation Street, I definitely implore you to tune in to Coronation Street. If you have Hulu Plus, definitely look up Coronation Street. They always post it up there, so definitely look it up. It's a pretty dope soap. I love it. Um, so yeah, getting into this episode, Carly and Bobby were talking about Nell, of course, and Bobby, um, is actually being honored at the hospital for her years of service. And I think that's cool. They're honoring Bobby. She's been with General Hospital for a long time, off and on, but still a long time. And it's cool that they're honoring her. They're throwing her this party. She's excited. But they noticed that Michael did not RSVP for the party. And it's basically this whole Michael Nell thing is definitely causing a rift in the family between them because it's obvious that Carly and Bobby hate Nell. That's obvious. Um, so it's kind of like a tug of war that they're playing. They're pulling Michael this way, Nell is pulling him this way, but Nell just makes it seem like she doesn't want to come in between the family. She's willing to take a step back. She doesn't want to come into it. Um, Sharon, who's Zach's sister. Zach is Nell's dead fiance that everybody claims that she murdered. So Sharon comes to Kelly's diner to meet up with Carly, and she's talking to Carly about how things led up to her brother's death. Basically, how Nell was convincing Zach that his family disliked her. They called her trash behind her back. And so it caused a rift within the family, and somewhat how, it's causing a rift now between the Corinthoses and Michael and Nell. The same thing that's happening with that family is, same thing that's happening with this family has happened with that family. So, as she was talking, I said, yeah, it's definitely similar. Um, but according to Sharon, she said that everything Nell said was not true. They never talked about her behind her back. They never called her trash. And so Zach proposed to Nell. And he told his family that if they can't accept him marrying Nell, he will cut the family off. He won't visit them. He won't speak with them. He won't nothing. They'll be cut off. Then the family found out he switched his will and left everything to Nell. And that's when, once that document was signed, that's when she took him on that trip to Maine and he died. Sharon said that Zach did not like the cold weather. So Maine is definitely not a place he would have went to. So she know Nell set that whole thing up. Um, as far as if I believe Sharon's story, she laid it on pretty thick. She had the tears and she was pretty convincing. I reserve judgment on whether or not her story is completely true. I reserve judgment because I don't take anything people say in a soap opera at face value. I don't take anything people say in real life at face value. So I definitely am skeptical about her story. Some of what she said about how the families got torn apart because of what Nell was telling, allegedly telling her brother or whatever, it sounds like that was similar to what's currently going on with the Corinthoses. How the family is just separated now. Michael, he has not that much contact with Sonny and Carly and Bobby. He loves them, he speaks to them, but they're not as close as they once were ever since him and Nell started dating. So it's like it's similar story. Right now, I reserve judgment. I really do. I can't say if she's telling the truth. I really don't believe Nell killed that guy. I don't want to believe it because the writers are definitely writing it in the past like they wanted Nell to be a fixture on this show. So I don't know. I'm reserving judgment until I get more answers. Until I see more, then I can give more of an explanation to this. But right now, I just want to see where this is going first before I really weigh in because I can't really say for sure if Nell killed this guy. Like I said in past videos, circumstantial evidence is built up around Nell. She had means, she had motive, and she had opportunity. That's what it is. But like I said, you can't go to court with that because you're probably not going to get a conviction on that. You can, but it's a long shot because it's circumstantial. You don't have any ironclad proof. But until I get more and see more, I can't make a full judgment on it. Not yet. I don't know who's telling the truth yet. I can't tell based off of their facial expressions. I can't tell. She was, Sharon was pretty convincing. And the evidence is, circumstantial, but it's overwhelming to ignore. It's too overwhelming to ignore. But, we got to see how it plays out. Um, Michael basically told Nell, bringing up all this tenant lease and all that. Um, Michael took the day off from ELQ. Way to go, Michael. That's a good CEO. Just take the day off to help your girlfriend pack and unpack. This is why Ned needs to move along and just take over. Come on, Ned, take over the company. Let's do this. Because Michael, you're not ready to be CEO. Like your priorities is obviously Nell right now, not the company. It's Nell. Like you don't even know. Like somebody could be planning a hostile takeover and he wouldn't even know it. Ain't that how Nick took over ELQ? Nick was planning a hostile takeover and Michael didn't even see it coming. And this is the prime example of why he's too wrapped up in his personal life to see what's going on in his business life. You got to pay attention, Michael. Come on now. Um, Michael basically told Nell he wants her to come with him to the party. She was invited or whatever by Bobby. I don't believe that. I don't. But he wants her to come to the party honoring Bobby. And Nell was like, she's not gonna go because Nell already knows it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna cause way more drama. Something goes wrong at the party, they're gonna find a way to blame her. I said probably so because they don't like her. So I really don't see why Nell. I think Bobby probably invited Nell because she knew that's probably the only way Michael would have came to the party. He probably wasn't gonna go by himself. And Michael was, and it was exactly right because Michael told her, well, she not going, he not gonna go. And he basically said he'll just, take Bobby out to a nice dinner to celebrate one on one. I feel like I feel like Michael is in a bad predicament. I'm not gonna sit here and put all the blame on Michael like he's naive. I mean, he is naive, but it's like you're kind of put between a rock and a hard place. He believes in Nell. He loves Nell, I guess. He wants to be with her. But at the same time, he got his family pulling him in this direction, trying to get him to get away from her. And it's like it's putting him in the middle to where he has to choose between his family or Nell. He doesn't want to do that. And that's obvious. He loves his family, of course. He doesn't want to choose, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to choose. That's a huge choice to make. You know what I'm saying? But I think all initially what Carly and Sonny were trying to tell Michael was at least look into Nell's background. At least look into the allegations against her. They're not telling him flat out to break up with her. She's a liar. They did that, but now they're just simply telling him at least look into these claims. And he won't even do that. And I feel like that's a mistake on his part. That's why Carly and Bobby were just like, you know what? Forget it. We tried to back off, but we can't ignore it since Michael won't do anything about it. We have to. Because I feel like for their peace of mind, they need to be sure she's not a killer. They need to be sure, and I'm not mad at that. I feel like in certain aspects of his relationship, they should back off, but this is a serious allegation. This is murder. And there is circumstantial evidence. They have to look into it. They have to. You would be crazy not to. You have to. Come on. This is serious. I don't believe she did it right now. I don't believe it. But I would look into it. Even if I believed her, I would look into it. Because wouldn't you want to exonerate her? Because if they don't exonerate her, that means there's going to be this cloud over her head every day of whether she did or she didn't do it. I would at least look into it to prove that she didn't, at least. You know what I mean? So that way it puts everybody's mind at ease. Carly and Bobby will finally, hopefully, back off. Just look into it. That's what, and I don't blame Carly for wanting to look into it because she, wants to know. Carly even told Sharon she believes that Nell is a compulsive liar, but murder, Carly, is staying neutral on that because she don't kind of believe it, but she just wants to know for sure if it's true. And I don't blame Carly. Get the facts first. Um, so anyway, Anna or Alex, whichever one, because everybody seems to think Anna is Alex. I don't blame you for thinking that. I mean, come on, she blackmailed Finn to go to Monaco with her. So I don't blame people for thinking that. She blackmailed this good guy who's a doctor trying to put his life back together. But that's kind of up Anna's alley, though. To blackmail somebody or whatever for an assignment to get what she need to get. I mean, it's not out the rim. She used to do that back in the day, so it's not really out, you know. But I can understand why people would think it's Alex because of the way she's talking and stuff like that or acting. She's smirking about stuff now. It's like, yeah, I can kind of see it, but I believe that's Anna until I see different. Um, so they were talking about Cassandra or whatever, and Finn thought that he blew it, and Cassandra wasn't gonna contact him. He wasn't gonna get no information. But long and behold, he got a text from Cassandra saying she wants to see him again. So Anna's pleased because now she gets another chance at Cassandra to figure out if Valentine had anything to do with these diamonds or whatever the case may be. It's a pretty decent storyline so far. I just want to see more action to it. So far we just have Anna and Finn sitting in a cafe or whatever, spying on Cassandra. I want to see more action. I want to see some shoot 'em up, bang bang. That's what I want to see. A little bit fight scene maybe. Some a little more action than just dialogue. Let me see some more action to this storyline. Like let's heat up this storyline before I get totally bored with it. Because I know some people are totally bored with it. I'm not at that point yet. I want to see a little more first. Um, so anyway, we get this Ask Man Landers party. So Maxie came up with I have to say it. Maxie, I'm a little tongue tied today. Maxie came up with a brilliant plan to conceal Nathan's identity because he was worried about the party because this can jeopardize his career. Um, so she came up with an idea to have multiple Ask Manlanders, at least what, five or six? They all walk around with like these Zorro mask on and a top hat to conceal the identity. So that way it builds anticipation. You know what I'm saying? It still adds the mystique to the whole thing. Um, so, when she did it, it actually created more buzz on social media around the book because, people have the women especially have this fantasy about Ask Man Landers. So it feeds into their fantasy. Maxie just proved how brilliant she is at business. This is her market. This is what she does. This was great marketing on her part, great PR work. It was just outright brilliant. Even Nina had to admit it was ingenious. You know, and of course, Amy was happy about it at first, but she was a little upset because they didn't include her into this, and this was, pretty much her book, and she felt like, Quinn is gonna think that she broke the confidentiality agreement, which, she didn't, but still, I can understand. But she ought to be still happy because obviously Quinn is happy, and Quinn is obviously gonna overlook it. It was a success at first until Damian Spinelli. Spinelli came in and kind of ruined the whole plan because Spinelli thought that Nathan was messing around with Amy behind Maxie's back. I can understand why he would think that because he wasn't clued into all the details. Maxie didn't tell him everything. She didn't tell him that Nathan was asking man Landers and he was doing this for Amy. She didn't tell him all the details. So he was just under the assumption that Nathan was messing around with Amy. Because I don't blame him for thinking that because Felicia thought the same thing. Because they were spending so much time together. He always hugging her, always has his arm around her. So I would understand why they would come to that conclusion. But he was actually comforting her because she thought that everything was about to fall apart. So when Spinelli confronted Nathan, they went into the party and they're yelling and they're loud and stuff like that. And that's when Nathan blurted out he was the real Ass Man Landers. I was like, oh Lord, this is about to be a huge scandal. You saw all the reporters snapping their pictures and stuff. I said, oh God, this is about to be a huge scandal. But anyway, it was a decent episode. I think we finally saw the end of this Ask Man Lander storyline, which I'm happy about because the whole storyline from the beginning to the middle was dreadful. How do you all feel about the payoff to the Ask Man Lander storyline? Was it a good payoff for you? You know that Nathan publicly got outed in front of the press, in front of all the fans, in front of Quinn, in front of everybody. Like, how do you feel about the payoff? I think it was decent to a boring storyline nonetheless. I thought it was pretty funny because of Spinelli and stuff and the way that it happened. So for me, I thought it was funny. Could have been better, but I felt like the whole storyline could have been better. But I'm just happy that we have an ending to it. If this is the true ending, I'm hoping that it is. But how do you feel about the payoff? Yeah, so hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you all later. Have a great day. Peace.